Welcome back to another edition of the Interlake Sports Now. I'm Josh Dugan, and on today's show, it's going to be a fun one. Lots and lots of basketball action with the Montana Prep basketball postseason starting out, and the final Brawl of the Wild basketball games of the year took place in Missoula over the weekend, so you know we'll get to that. And we'll take a little look at where the Griz and the Cats, men and women, currently sit in the Big Sky Conference standings, and what the rest of their schedules look like as we're getting really close to the end of college basketball regular season and close to the Big Sky tournament in Boise, March 9th through 13th. Before we dive into all that action, quick reminder, today's episode is brought to you by Nomad, voted the Flathead's best manufacturer. Nomad is a longtime supporter of our local community and sports scene, celebrating 20 years of building great careers and mission-focused custom vehicles. Nomad, a Montana-based company making a global impact. Visit nomadgcs.com for more info. That's nomadgcs.com for more information. All right, let's dive right into the prep basketball action. A little bit of postseason action. The Western AA with Glacier and Flathead, they haven't quite reached that time of the year yet. They're still finishing up their regular season. But Class A, Class B, time for those play-in games, and this upcoming week we got some divisional tournament action, so that we'll be talking about that on our next show. Starting with the Northwest play-in games that took place last Thursday and Saturday to determine who was going to get the final spot from the Northwest A in the Western A basketball tournament. Thursday, the Whitefish Bulldogs beat Polson 53-42 with Mason Couch leading the way with 18 points, and Carson Kratt chipped in 16 to set up a Northwest play-in finale with the Ronin Saturday. Ronin beat Libby 77-44 Thursday to move on to play Whitefish. Tyler Finley led the Chiefs with 16 points. As for the girls' games Thursday in the Northwest play-in bracket, Ronin beat Whitefish 49-37, led by 12 points from Kayla Marengo, who hit 2 3-pointers that had 12 total points to help stamp their ticket to that Northwest play-in finale. Versus Polson, who took on Libby Thursday and beat them 39-32. Polson's Riley Taylor Jefferson had a game-high 20 points and hit a big 3-pointer late to help seal the deal for Polson. As of the game Saturday, those play-in finales, who was going to get the final spot? Ronin pulled off the Northwest play-in game sweep with wins on the boys and girls column Saturday with the Chiefs and Maiden, picking up wins. The Ronin boys beat Whitefish 52-35 with a huge fourth quarter by Mario Tonskanet, who dropped 14 points in the fourth quarter, so he came up big-time clutch for Tonisket, big-time fourth quarter performer there. The Ronin girls, meanwhile, they knocked off Polson 46-36 Saturday to play their way into the Western A tourney. Kayla Marengo, we just mentioned her. She did it again for the Maidens with 21 points, including a strong performance from the free throw line where she went 8 of 11. Hey, those free throws a lot of times become deciding factors in the biggest game, so clutch play right there. The Western A divisional tourney starts Thursday in Butte. Browning, Big Fork, and Columbia Falls will all be there with the boys and the girls and Ronin. So keep an eye out for those teams. We'll definitely be updating you on next week's show. And best of luck to our Valley teams and area teams who are on the hunt for a state title. Let's get to our Poster Player of the Week, generously sponsored by your friends at Clark Auto Group here in Kalispell, featuring 3 local stores, Clark Nissan, Clark Hyundai, and Mountain Auto and Marine, home of the $29.99 oil change and the friendliest staff in town. And don't forget, you can always see Clark Auto Group's 4-page special insert in the Daily Interlake every Sunday for the latest deals, events, and employee spotlight of the week. This week's Poster Player of the Week goes to a member of the Glacier Wolfpack girls basketball team, Kennedy Moore, who came up clutch for the Wolfpack in Butte Tuesday with a coast-to-coast layup in the final seconds of the game to beat the buzzer and gave the Wolfpack a 36-34 win over the Butte Bulldogs. Moore finished the ballgame with 7 points. They included the biggest basket of the night, and that's one of those moments as an athlete and competitor that you live for. Big kudos to Moore, one of those memories you'll never forget, hitting a game-winning shot, one of the best feelings right there. So kudos to Moore on coming up clutch for a team when it mattered most. That'll do it for this week's Poster Player of the Week, presented by Clark Auto Group. Thank you again to our friends at Clark Auto Group here in Kalispell for the support. Remember, you can stay up to date with the latest deals and events from Clark Auto Group by checking out their 4-page insert in the Sunday edition of the Daily Interlake. All right, let's get into the college basketball talk. Like I said, prep wrestling's wrapped up, prep swimming wrapped up, so this week it's going to be basketball heavy, not a lot of football news, although it just broke today. Montana Grizzlies defensive coordinator Ronnie Bradford will be heading to the Miami Dolphins to join their coaching staff. So that is one piece of news we're not going to cover too much on the show, but that was breaking news today. It's always fun to drop a little breaking news here on the Interlake Sports Now. Just dropped today, so we'll see what happens. Adam Schefter tweeted it out, so you know it was a big deal, sports fans. ESPN's Adam Schefter, big-time insider NFL guy. Of course, kind of cool to see him mention Montana and the Grizzlies in a tweet this morning. But, hey, that's a story for another time. great career with the Griz and a few seasons as an assistant for Coach Bradford. And Coach Bradford last year as the DC led one of the best defenses in the country, so you could see why the Dolphins were interested. Speaking of the Griz, on to that Brawl the Wilds basketball action. Let's start with the women's game where the Lady Griz won 72-50 to split the season series with the Bobcat women, who took the first Brawl Wild in Bozeman, 64-55. This time around in Missoula, the Lady Griz got the win. A trio of Lady Griz scores shared the team high in scoring with Matt Koenig, Gina Markson, and Danny Barch, all chipping in 14 points. And the Lady Griz as a team combined for 14 three-pointers. They were money from beyond the arc. They shot 50% from three. That's going to win you a lot of basketball games. And as you get close to that Big Sky tournament, if you're getting hot from behind the three-point line, you could beat anybody. That's just how it is in basketball nowadays. So that's something to watch. Mara Dykstra led the Bobcats with 13 points and 9 rebounds in the loss, a near double-double. All right, as for the Griz and Cat men, it was Montana who took care of business in Missoula with an 88-69 win over Montana State to sweep the season series after the Griz previously beat the Bobcats 87-77 in Bozeman earlier in the season. On Saturday night, in the most recent Brawl the Wild game, the Griz were led by a strong performance from Ainan Moody, who drained 5 3-pointers on his way to a game-high 29 points. Was just talking about how important it is to knock down those threes from behind the arc. The Griz had a couple guys do that with Josh Vasquez, also feeling it from three-point range. He had 4 shots from beyond the arc and finished with 15 points. And Deshaun Thomas hit 3 three-pointers of his own on his way to 20 points. So the Griz, Lady Griz, and men both feeling it from beyond the arc as the Big Sky tournament nears. That's a good sign. That's a way you could beat a lot of teams. If you're playing up in talent, a team with better maybe more talent, doesn't matter if you're feeling it from beyond the arc. You could still pull off an upset. So something to remember. Eddie Turner led the Bobcats with 18 points in the loss. Now let's take a look at where the Griz and Cats men and women sit in the Big Sky standings as we kind of gear up for the home stretch of Big Sky basketball with the tournament March 9th through 13th in Boise. We're almost there. So the regular season, each team has 5 games remaining. Let's start with the Griz men. We'll roll through their schedule. They play Sac State, Portland State, Eastern Washington, Idaho, and their final game is Monday, March 4th versus Idaho State. Montana currently is 4th in the Big Sky at 8-5 overall in the conference play. They'll take on first place Eastern Washington and Cheney February 29th. But the rest of those teams are in the bottom half of the conference, and 3 of those games are at home in Missoula. So the Griz have a great chance to close out the season strong and potentially bump up their seeding for the Big Sky tournament, like I said, taking place in Boise. For the Bobcat men, they have 5 games left on the radar as well. They take on Portland State, Sac State, and Idaho before closing things out with a pair of tough tests with a trip to Eastern Washington and then the finale in Bozeman March 4th versus Weber State, who's 3rd in the conference standings right now and is led by NBA prospect Dylan Jones. The Cats are currently 6-7 in league play, and they sit at 6th place in the Big Sky, so they could use a couple wins late to up their seeding for the tournament and potentially have a little bit of an easier opponent. You don't want to go up against one of these top-tier Big Sky schools. I believe right now they'd be facing off with Weber State in the tournament. I could be wrong, but that is a tough test. So maybe get a couple wins, end up playing somebody it's a little bit easier to beat. As for the women, the Lady Griz sit at 9-4 in the Big Sky as they sit in 3rd place. Montana also has 5 games remaining, and they play the same slate as the Griz men. They'll take on Eastern Washington, who's February 29th. Again, on the women's side, they're the number 1 team. They're a big-time opponent right now. That's the team that you want to circle on your calendar for the Lady Griz and prepare for. Got to win that one or at least make it competitive if you want to have a chance in the Big Sky tournament. If you can go toe-to-toe with the Eagles, you're going to have a chance in that tournament. So that'll be an interesting one, and I'm just excited to see the home stretch for basketball. They have a couple road games, so that's kind of always tough. So no gimmies the rest of the way for the Lady Griz. But that one against Eastern Washington jumps out the most. As for the Bobcats, to follow the same theme as the Lady Griz, the Bobcat women close out their slate, with the same set of opponents as the Bobcat men. And same with the Lady Griz. Their toughest test will be Eastern Washington, who does come to Bozeman, so that gives them a little bit of an advantage there, a little home court advantage for Montana State. They currently sit at 4th in conference play at 8-5, so they're still in the hunt for a top-tier seed for the conference tournament. That's very important. Similar with the Lady Griz, they're going to be battling out. They're sitting at 3rd and 4th respectively, so we'll see how that goes down the stretch. But worth mentioning, both the Lady Griz and Bobcat women will close out their season with 3 out of 5 games on the road, so that could definitely be a factor. One last piece of news for today's show, Griz football. They announced their spring game date will be April 12th at 6 p.m. under the lights at Washington Grizzly Stadium. According to the University of Montana, the Grizzly Scholarship Association will host a pregame tailgate party starting at 4 p.m. in the Den located on the 200 level of the east side of the stadium. The tailgate is free to enter and open to all fans. All proceeds from the event go to support the GSA and its mission to provide scholarships for student athletes. Ticket and broadcast information has not yet been released, but we'll keep an eye out for that moving forward. Always fun to get a little piece of Griz football news in there. We mentioned Coach Ronnie Bradford. He'll be heading to the Miami Dolphins. And all of a sudden, it feels like the Griz season just ended here with a late season going into early January with the FCS championship run. We're already talking about the spring game. We've already talked a lot about the transfer portal. Next thing you know, it'll be time for football to kick off again. So not to say I'm not excited for the spring and all that, but all of it, football, is king up in Montana. So all of a sudden we'll blink an eye and it'll be football time again. On that note, that'll do it for today's show. I'm Josh Dugan. Thank you as always to Nomad GCS for the support and Clark Auto Group for the support. Kind of a jam-packed show today. We rolled through it pretty quick. Lots and lots of basketball action. And I got to say, that's going to be the theme the next couple weeks with Montana postseason basketball going on here at the high school ranks and the Griz and Cats, men and women, all still in the hunt to have a good run at the Big Sky tournament next month. All those teams, they might not be ranked the number 1 or 2 seed, but hey, if you get hot at the right time in college basketball, you can make a run. All of a sudden, you're playing the March Madness. So we're definitely going to be keeping an eye out on that as a basketball fan. Got to love this time of year. All right, thank you as always to everybody for checking out the show. I'm Josh Dugan, and I'm out.